我们在乎的事情，对方不一定在乎，所以当对方很冷淡的回应时，我们该如何应对呢？Hello， 欢迎来到 Executive Plus 主管与沟通力的 Podcast. I'm Sherry, an educator, certified coach, and style enthusiast. 我相信专业有效的沟通是语言跟逻辑的完美结合。
And I'm Nick, a startup consultant, corporate trainer, and late-night gaming junkie. I believe great communication requires the right mindset and solid frameworks.
我们希望带给大家职场英语的技能、跨文化沟通技巧与其他能帮助您成为出色领导者的工具。
Join us each week as we share our experience, research, and methodologies to take your communication and language skills from good to great. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Executive Plus podcast. Today, we're going to talk about what to do when you get that age-old answer that everyone rolls their eyes at. When you ask someone a question and the response is, I don't care. Now, Sherry has a very specific context for why she wants to talk about this, but there is always that time where you're in the office and you need to make a decision quickly, or let's even say you want to get out and go to lunch so you can come back for a meeting, and you're always hit with that, I don't care. But you know that's not actually true.
Sounds really painful, Nick. Does that happen to you a lot?
Oh my gosh.
What do you want for lunch? I don't care.
Whatever. I have like 3-4 other people in the office. As soon as I ask that question, I just get a lot of, oh, anything's okay, or oh, I don't really care.
That was not me.
And then as soon as you start listing off things, people just look at you and shake their head. Be like, oh, so we do care.
没错，我家里面有一个快要变 teenager 的一个女儿 So 有的时候呢，不管她有没有说 I don't care 她的眼神就是表现着 I don't care So 那我也觉得就是在我们办公室来讲，在我们的工作的时候，我们的 motivation并不一定是 aligned, right? 有些事情你很在乎，对方可能一点都不在乎，他可能会稍微礼貌一点去掩饰一下，但是你也知道他并不是很在乎这件事情。So how do we respond to that kind of indifferent?
So when people are showing indifference, there's a few ways you can handle it. There's a serious way, and there's a more joking, fun way, depending on your relationship with that person. So let's talk about how you can handle this in a more professional or serious manner when you get that type of indifference where it's like, oh, I don't care, or it's really up to you, but you are worried that that's going to come back around to you at some point. The first way is simply you actually accept their indifference and you just make a decision, right? A lot of people would get stuck in this cycle of trying to negotiate with the person or really pull out their feelings. But sometimes the fastest way to get what they really want or to end the conversation is just make that decision.
Yeah. I think a lot of times we get caught up in this emotion, right? 哦，为什么你不 care? That makes me feel sad that you don't care, right? 然后就会在这个情绪当中打转。但是呢，有很多事情你必须要来决定。You can't wait for this person to care at some point down the future. So make that decision for yourself. So let's say we're going out for lunch and people don't know when they want to eat. 他们可能不是很饿. They don't care. So you can just go, okay, cool. So let's leave in about 10 minutes then.
So just by making that statement, 2 things happens. One, if they really don't care, now a decision has been made and they just show up. I'm going to leave at noon. We're going to go to this restaurant. So they can decide whether they're coming or not. You're no longer responsible for that decision after that. The other thing is, if you think they actually do care, you have now given them a context. So if you're like, let's leave in 10 minutes and let's go to this restaurant. And they're like, oh, well, I need to finish this thing. I need about 15 minutes. Then you can turn around and be like, so what time should we leave? Now, because they have responded, they cannot get a real, like, oh, well, I don't know, roughly, just whenever you're ready. Be like, no, because I gave a time. You have pushed back on that time. Now I will ask more concretely, what time can you be ready? Now their indifference doesn't count anymore.
I think that's the whole point, is that we don't want their indifference to affect us. So another way you can say this, you could do, sounds good. I'll let you know what I decided later.
Right. So you show that you're taking that decision and that you will come back to them with the answer. That either means they can speak up in this gap period time, or you're just showing like, oh, I'm just going to handle this. So if they want to have their input, you've given them that moment. Another way that you can do this in a more serious or professional manner is that you actually show them that this is an important decision to you, so you really need their input at that point. Oh, let's do this thing, and someone's like, oh, I don't really care, whatever you want to do. Then you can say something like, well, this is actually very important to me, and I would really like to get your input so that I can make this decision right now.
Yeah, really explain 为什么这件事情对你来讲很重要。你也可以给对方一个 purpose, like a goal or purpose to this very task, so that they could probably align. 有的时候可能对方并没有任何的感觉，并不代表他完全不在乎，而是他不知道这件事情的重要性在哪里。So you really laid out the importance about this matter to this person, and then they can align their goal with you.
And what makes this important is that a lot of times when you push back and tell the other person they should care rather than talking about your own feelings, it comes across a little passive aggressive. Think about like your mom or something where you're like, a kid's like, I don't want to put on sunscreen. And they'll be like, well, you will want the sunscreen when you get burned, right? The fact is that's probably true. And the person saying that is probably frustrated because they know the outcome. But anytime they press upon the other person like, well, you are going to need this, you are going to want it, it just comes across passive aggressive. And so avoiding that and talking about where you're coming first, be like, it is really important for me to make this decision and to get it right. I either need your input or I need you to understand that I'm going to make this decision anyway.
Similar to that would be the phrase, you'll thank me later.
Yeah. You'll thank me when you're older.
Yeah. 我妈妈大概跟我说这种超级多次的 right? But I mean, yeah, I'll thank her when I'm older, now that I'm definitely older and more mature. But in a younger age, 当你不在乎的时候，你还是不在乎。So,
right. That lesson did not sink
No.
until like 20 years later, in which case, did it really matter?
Exactly.
So this is one of those things like, if you talk about where you're coming from, then the other person has to make a decision whether they respond or continue the indifference. Now, the last way that you can keep this on the more professional level is find a side direction that they do care about, and then use that to come back to the conversation that you have now, right? So if someone doesn't really want to reveal what's going on, or you want them to just be more open and honest, then you can turn around and ask a question and be like, okay, well, you're not concerned about this decision, but I know it's connected to your other project. How would you like to handle this in the future?
我觉得这个部分它的重要性就是，当你如果发现你的团队啊或你的同事，当他之前都可能非常 motivated， 但突然间你会发现他的 emotion 不太一样，他的情绪比较低落，好像很多事情他不是很在乎了。There has to be a reason why, and take that time to find out why they suddenly don't care about this. I think that's really valuable when it comes to team building and also, management, because again, emotion 其实对 motivation 来讲是非常重要的。
All right, so we've covered all the more professional or serious ways you can handle this. Now, what happens when you have a more personal or friendly relationship with this person? Are there other ways to handle this? Now, the first fun way to handle this, and I do emphasize you need to feel comfortable that you have a relationship with this person, is to actually just call them out on it. So if someone's like, yeah, I don't really care, be like, yeah, okay, sure.
Or be like, I think you do. I think you do care. Or like, oh, come on. Yes, you do. Or spare me the act. You totally care.
My favorite move, and I use this all the time, is to take what we talked about very first, which is make a decision. But you purposely make a decision that you know the other person will hate. So something innocuous like going to lunch. If you'd be like, all right, so what do you want to eat? And the person's like, oh, I don't really care. Then the first thing will be like, okay, I'm going to eat this. And it's a food I know that person does not like. Because you will immediately get a reaction and be like, no, I don't want that. Be like, okay, so what do you want?
It kind of really triggered them, right? To actually care about this and voice an opinion.
Or, you bring up someone else who can like help make that decision or do something where like maybe they don't like their opinion. Be like, oh, no, it's fine. I'll just have Karen give me some input. And if that person, has a feud or doesn't think the other person is that good at their job, then they're going to come out with their opinion, right? So you can just kind of poke the bear. Just be like, you don't care? All right, I'm going to do the worst possible thing I can and then see if you react.
The final way, I think it's a bit more sarcastic. It's even more sarcastic. It's definitely in Nick's wheelhouse. It's just a joke about the fact that they actually don't care, right? Or their attitude, or their bad attitude if they have one, right? Oh yeah, I can see that. I can see that you don't care.
Or based on the state of your hair today, it's not the only thing you don't care about, right? So again, this better be someone you know very well. But you can always make that joke. They're like, oh, I don't care. Yeah, let me find something else that you don't care about and then see how it goes. Or again, back to that sarcasm when someone's like, oh, I don't really care. And I'd be like, yeah, you don't care as much as you dress today, right? In this case with Sherry, she always dresses very nice, and even her casual makes the rest of us look ridiculous. So making that point, be like, yeah, you don't care as much as you didn't care about your outfit this morning, right? Which is the other person knows that's not true.
Or you can just be completely sarcastic about it and be like, oh, really? I couldn't tell.
If you have a good relationship with that person, calling them out or just making a joke about it and getting a reaction is usually a way for them to be like, fine, okay, I'll tell you what I think. These are things that you need to be very careful about how you approach. We hope that you enjoyed this episode today, and you will think about the next time you encounter indifference from a serious manner of just making a decision or showing them how important it is to you versus the fun way of making a little bit of joke or telling them you're going to do exactly what you know they don't want you to do. We'll talk to you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.
The Executive Plus podcast is a Presentality Group production, produced and hosted by Sherry Fang and Nick Howard. You can search us on Facebook, 主管英文 Executive Plus. You can also find us on Instagram, Communication R&D, and email us at sherry@epstyleplus.com.